Joining us now, Managing Director for Strat Americas, Seth Schachner.
Kind of big tech swallowing up one of like our most storied film studios with tons of content from, Casablanca to Batman to Barbie in it. And, it's really about the ascendance of big tech.
I think there's a little bit of a misperception out there, Jonathan. I mean, this is actually a human being. That's Nicky Jones. To me, it's actually just another platform for kind of human expression.
Should Hollywood be taking that seriously as a threat, or is this more hype than reality at this point, do you think?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, the biggest threat right now is something called Sora 2 that I think extremely disruptive, and I think that everyone in this town here is on alert for. But I think this latest kind of thing that has come out from the Tilly Norwood kind of creators and studios is kind of half hype, half threat, basically. These are what I'd call synthetic actors. YouTube is really the nearest kind of universe that competes with Netflix now. And I kind of have a hard time when people talk about we're going to lose content out of this. I think there's still going to be tons and tons of consumer choice.
But I think the real thing is, going forward, how do you expand the business and what should a studio look like? And when I look at the two things on the table between Netflix and between what Mr. Ellison has actually said publicly, I tend to think he's got a vision for a studio. Technology, the cloud, he's got a lot of experience making movies like Top Gun.
It's possible you'll see things like bundles. Disney's done a lot of this with Disney Plus and the ESPN app and Hulu, and that actually, to me, it's kind of inverse to what you're saying, that usually you see better prices with bundles, and they're usually better deals for consumers, and it's given just a tremendous amount of liberties to consumers to essentially stream what they want whenever they want, and it kind of runs against the grain of old Hollywood, if you will. And I think the more Netflix has grown, and it's by far and away an industry leader, I think all the studios out here have been kind of on the defensive. This town has been shaken by mergers, by streaming, by AI, by lots of labor strife.
How do you see Disney when you look at kind of the broader, even streaming landscape, when you compare it to pure play, for instance, like a Netflix?
Yeah, I see it very, very positively, Diane, because look, there's a landscape of streaming services out there, and most of them are out trying to merge or buy other properties or figure out ways to either shut down or retool what they're doing. Not this one. It's been hit on all sides by everything from AI to labor strife and mergers and streaming. But, when I really look at it, not just in 2025, but going forward, there's a lot of bright spots as well. What's happening here, I think for the first time, you may see a little bit of a shift in power dynamics. It's a good question whether or not, Disney needs YouTube TV or more than Google does. I think it's fair to say there's a lot of suspicion around AI. And I mean, certainly Spotify does not have a very good reputation at all with lots of artists just because of the compensation models there. But I think this is an attempt to try and give some open doors to allow artists to experiment, with new AI tracks and some of the new AI products that they'll develop right now. I worked at Sony when Napster and LimeWire were out, and it was a very, very different story than what we're seeing here. So it's a much more positive, early stage, constructive set of, talks that they're doing right now. There is sort of a making a mountain out of a molehill aspect to kind of the current noise around this. I think there's been a lot of fear tripped off. She looks incredibly real, and these technologies are getting better and better.
This is what I just call pure American pop, and there's nothing like it. Still the best in the world. I mean, she's actually not a great comparison to the overall music ecosystem, because most artists these days, Mike, don't really earn a lot of money from streaming at all. They have to do other things like touring to support themselves.
I think the harder part for this longer term is about the product.
Right.
And whether the young audiences that use it, the 75 million or more, sense that something's different with it. And there's a ton of interplay between theaters and streaming and all sorts of other stuff, music, live events as well. If you look back over time, I mentioned Taylor Swift, Beyonce's done something like this, One Direction, Bieber. And what I think a lot of entities are trying to do are seeding the grounds for it to become, a legitimate business.
It is great to see you this morning. What's your view of this tariff policy? Is it going to help or hurt Hollywood?
Great to be here, Jonathan. Well, fortunately, the tariff discussion has kind of morphed into something totally different, which is much more positive and much more constructive, which is really all about incentives and tax incentives and bringing about a federal tax incentive, which we've never had in this country.
Influencer fatigue, I wonder, and at what point do we cross over that mark where people say, all right, I've seen enough of this. Every time I open up my screen, I'm seeing the same faces promote different products. What does that look like?
I mean, I would bet Hollywood's hoping for that, because I think a lot of the influencer stuff is really starting to shift away. For the Gen Z stuff that you're starting to see now, they care less and less about traditional Hollywood content. Charli D'Amelio is going to mean a lot more Mr. Beast than Brad Pitt is to someone who's in that age demographic.
Is that a sweet spot, the crossover that we're seeing, Seth, and that you just alluded to between music, movies, and games? Something that seems to have maybe a little bit of something for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's an enormous, particularly from a business standpoint. I'll point back to a Travis Scott event on Fortnite, or some of the things you've seen with Roblox, which some of us might think about as gaming communities, but younger people see this as a concert or a town hall.
Seth Schachner, Managing Director for Strat America, is joining us from the West Coast. Seth, thank you as always.
Great to be here, Kristen.
It's great to see you.